So does he remain relevant in Africa today? For more on this, on his legacy, we're joined now by Professor Kealeboga Mapunye from the University of South Africa. Prof, good evening and thank you for coming through. So the Belgian author Ludo de Wet has described the assassination of Patrice Lumumba as the most important assassination of the 20th century. What made Patrice Lumumba the person that he was and hence his assassination that important to our history?
What made Lumumba very important is his fiercely anti-colonial as well as strongly nationalist, African nationalist, one must say, sentiments towards uniting the people of Congo, and of course ensuring that he also remains a very anti-imperialist. We know that he operated at a very difficult time during the Cold War, during the battle for the global control between the US as well as the former Soviet Union.
So perhaps the issue then becomes the legacy that he bequeathed future leaders of Africa, including the current leaders. To what extent then is that Pan-Africanism still alive today?
For as long as we are talking about the decoloniality, which is what currently, the discourse, the anti-colonialist discourse has taken the form of. And for as long as we are talking about the importance of uniting all the African countries under the banner of the African Union, including also working towards visions such as the African Union's Vision 2063, we are, in my view, walking slowly and definitely behind Lumumba's vision of uniting the continent. As you have mentioned in your intro, definitely he has been a symbol of unification of the Congolese people after they fought a fierce anti-colonialist struggle against the Belgian as well as French and other colonialist forces that colonized the Congo then in the 1960s and earlier. However, we also have to remember that the legacy of Lumumba is the legacy of liberation that spread to all corners of the continent, including even this very country, South Africa, whereby many nationalists from South Africa learned significantly from the likes of Lumumba. And I'm actually surprised that we don't even have, as a continent, Lumumba Day, such as would be fitting for a person, giving tribute to a person of such a luminary presence in Africa's decolonial struggles.
Just a bit more on the issue of Pan-Africanism. I see that, I was reading a speech that he delivered in 1960 in the capital of the Congo, then known as Leopoldville, which is Kinshasa today. I mean, some of the things he was talking about, we have seen come to fruition. A Pan-African bloc. He was talking about breaking down barriers that are created, colonial barriers. That remains, of course, in terms of the actual physical barriers. But things such as trade agreements between African states, as we speak, this, Pan-African free trade area is being negotiated in the AU, a military cooperation. So it seems that, in a way, the baton was picked up.
Absolutely. I believe that what we have seen, or the benchmarks, the milestones that we have achieved over the years, ever since the OAU, the then Organization of African Unity, was formed, and then of course in the 2000s, the African Union, including the programs that it undertook, the ones that you are alluding to, the issue of continental unification, the issue of ensuring that there's economic integration across the continent, such that we now have the SADCs of this world, we have the ECOWASs of this world, the Maghrebs, the CENSAs, all these so-called REGs or regional economic communities. In my view, I think they echo what Lumumba stood for. And to that extent, I think we are, as a continent, we are reaping, the benefits of, his very expansive thinking as well as vision. And to that extent, the Pan-Africanism that you have alluded to, actually, in my view, also is traceable to his thinking. Obviously, the biggest challenge is that in his native Congo, in the present DRC, we see disunity and we see problems that I don't think Lumumba would have been proud of, given the fact that, even currently as we speak, the country has not been going to an election, and he's got a leader that, in my view, has already reached his sell-by date. He was supposed to have left, hopefully through an election, and a new leader coming in. So I think those issues are the issues that remind us of Lumumba's legacy, and it would be important that we recognize such leaders, not only on their birthdays like today. Obviously, he was born today, more than all those years ago. But the issue of making sure that we recognize, further his ideas in other ways apart from just recognizing, his birth date.
Yeah, in fact, just as a final point, Prof, talk to me a bit more about the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo. To what extent can we attribute some of the difficulties the country known as the DRC today, previously Zaire, has gone through to that act of assassination, for which many have blamed Belgium working with, some of his opponents inside the Congo at the time. Can we afford to detach what happened to what is happening now, or should we put more responsibility on the current leaders to say, actually, since the independence of the Congo, it's been one saga after another, the years of, that crazy period when the country was ruled by Mobutu Sese Seko?
In my view, it will be very difficult to detach what is currently happening in the Congo from the legacies of the time of Patrice Lumumba, because Patrice Lumumba stood for the eventual and ultimate unification of the Congo, such that the people of the Congo would not be exploited by the imperialists, then the Belgians, as well as the French and the Americans and all the other people who wanted to come and have a frenzy in terms of the resources of the Congo, but also to ensure that Congo becomes free of colonialism. And hence he also now was this fiercely nationalist person. So to that extent, it becomes, in my view, very difficult to separate, what happened then, the things that led eventually to his assassination. In my view, to some extent, we still have that. In my view, I think we have, colonialism of a hidden type now, because the very same, foreign forces are still jostling up and, trying to outdo one another in terms of getting to the resources of the Congo. And to that extent, this has also, made it difficult for the current leadership to think very straight and to also, see the machinations of the foreign forces for what they are. And some of these leaders, unfortunately, tend to apparently be bought by the external forces and thereby, betray their people. They do not want, to allow the people democratic, freedoms and so on. And the main thing really being to satisfy their foreign, masters or the foreign, powers. And to that extent, the situation in the Congo currently is still a manifestation of what happened during the times of, Patrice Lumumba, Joseph Kasavubu, and all the other leaders that, that reigned during the time that he was in power in the 1960s.
All right, thank you so much. Great chatting with you there, Professor Kialeboga Mapunye of UNISA, talking to us about the legacy of Patrice Lumumba.